Hello there, and welcome, and today marks the beginning of something very big in my Minecraft world, because today, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, we're going to be building up the Death Star 2, and I did mention this quite a long while ago, but now I finally have the resources and all these farms ready, so it's quite easy for me to collect those resources, even given its size. It will be slightly smaller because obviously I can't fit an entire Death Star in this world, that would be completely ridiculous, but also because of Endor we want it to look like it's in the sky, so it's sort of in the background, but it is going to be very big. And on top of that, we are going to be building the super smelter today, which we discussed in the last episode, and I actually have all of the resources ready to build both of these. So if you like insane redstone and you like giant builds, today's going to be a great episode, and you'll see I have a bunch of resources here. This is all for my super smelter. I mean, look at this. We've got thousands of observers, pistons, hoppers, everything, so it's going to be massive. A bunch of empty shulker boxes. That is just because if I run out of shulker boxes then it can cause an issue, so I'm just going to have a little backup just in case, because I use a shulker loader, but we'll get to that later in the episode, because now it's time to start working on this Death Star 2, and I have all of the resources here, so let's just jump in and start the building and we'll see how that goes.
Join me, and together we can rule the algorithm as creator and sub.
Well, that is only half of the Death Star finished, and that took me 7 hours to build that. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's taking so long, but I think the next half is going to be a lot easier, and I just ran out of rockets. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of gaps in here, and there were some difficulties I had. Let me go and grab some rockets, and I'll show you something else down here. You might notice that with my shadows, they are a little bit blocky. If I can find some, there you go. That's because I've turned off smooth lighting, because that is recommended for a resource pack that I am about to use. Another thing going on here is I've actually used up so many of these rockets. These chests are almost empty now, but I have this resource pack, if I can find it, and it should be this one. How does it work? I don't know if it's working. That took me a very long time to get that working, but now if I press F9 you'll see it shows the light levels. So I need to go around and have a look inside all of this build and just make sure that nothing's going to spawn on it, because otherwise it's going to affect the farm that we're doing in the next episode. It doesn't do a very big range, does it? Looks like I've already done a pretty decent job of this area inside. Saw there was a spot up here somewhere. Can they spawn on iron bars? No. This happens so much to me. This has happened way too much. Alright, that is one more creeper hole patched up. There's definitely one down there. Why is it always creepers? Right, I think that is all the spots, but even if there's like one spot left, at least it'll only be 1 or 2 mob spawns. I think we're going to take a break. Oh, I've just spotted a hole. There we go, we'll get that one. Okay, let me take another quick look around this. Maybe I'll expand the circle. Well, I am satisfied that that is all now spawn proofed. I also went and did it on some of my vehicles as well. So now I want to start working on this super smelter finally. I've been waiting for this for so many episodes. I'm happy to get this underway. So I'm just going to start off here by placing in the sorting system for the kelp, because we're going to be using a large kelp farm in order to actually get the fuel for this. The other problem we're going to have here is bats. I mean, the minecart rails will get blocked by them, which we really don't want. And I can't remember how many clicks that's supposed to be. I just went through and randomly placed in these frog lights, and some of them are actually already in the right positions. How weird. Look, I put them in the same positions just by pure coincidence. I've barely done anything and my night vision's running out already. Okay, so I'm not going to go all the way up just yet. We'll leave that for now, because that's actually where we're going to be cooking all of the kelp. We just have a little dispensing system here just to get rid of any excess kelp in case this overflows for any reason. How have you spawned then? He must have spawned up on one of these or something. I don't know. I don't know how that guy spawned. I don't know why there's a hole here, but there should definitely be blocks. Ah, I see where they're spawning. And that is the first layer of water all placed in. Now it's time for the second layer of ice, because, to be honest, this gap in the middle where you'll have something blocking the water to allow things to continue on, it wasn't actually working out for me. I probably could have done it with slabs, but basically when the items fall down, if they fell straight onto this, then you wouldn't actually get them pushed across. And I decided to do it with 2 layers of ice, which probably wasn't the best idea, but it will be fine, and that's how I designed it, so I'm just going to do it that way. I also have this little redstone torch tower with some repeaters down the back, so this will do the locking out of the system. So essentially when I have enough fuel, it's going to automatically lock itself, so I won't have to actually turn anything off. And this will be the bottom layer of the kelp here, so the bottom layer of the farm, and I run out of stone again. I probably could have picked a better block to do this with as well, something a little bit easier for myself, but I decided to use smooth stone because that's what everyone uses in redstone builds, I guess. I don't really know. I could have just used normal stone. I just didn't think it looked as nice, even though this isn't something I'm ever going to be looking at. And also, of course, once this is finished, I'm going to have an unlimited supply of smooth stone anyway, because this will smelt a whole shulker box in 5 minutes, which is very quick, and I have like 1,000,000 cobblestone, so I have no issue really. I also have like 90 shulker boxes of normal stone, so yeah, getting smooth stone after this is going to be very easy. So that is the water streams done, and now you can see we have the first layer of this farm here, which is not going to be particularly fun to build. And I'm going to have to do like 20 layers of this. So this is the line going down the back. We're going to have a line of blocks on top of here, and I think all I need to do now is the signs. And these are not fun to place in, especially on this kind of scale with this many. It was much easier and creative because I had infinite reach, so I didn't have to click off of the sign. Alright, so we're going to leave the kelp and the water for now, because we're going to put the water in at the very end. So the next layer, we need this line of blocks here, if I can place that correctly. Then we also need all of these pistons, so I need 2 stacks of those. And we just go along the line, holding down the button, because that's the easiest way to do it. And then you'll see that only a few of these are powered. That's because we need to place redstone dust going along all of the top of this. And then once I do that, they will all start being powered by the redstone torches underneath. And there we go, fully powered. Now we need the observers. Again, I don't have enough of those on me. And it's just another hold down the button and just move sideways. So this is very easy to build this. It's just going to take me a long time. So that is the first layer of the farm finished. Other than the kelp and the water, it's all ready to go. And it's currently switched off just so that way when I place in the kelp, it won't start growing and pushing me around. But now let's just jump into a time lapse to speed this up. I have just realised that I was complaining about those mob spawns, and some of you are probably wondering, this is all dark, why are you worried about mob spawns? You might have noticed there's some mycelium around. That's because if you're new to these episodes, all 3 of these islands are actually mushroom islands, so some of the bits that are sticking off I've fully mob proofed, and that's why I was going through and doing those. This is actually the only thing on these islands that isn't mob proofed, and down the back of this as well, some of this goes off the back of the island, which you can already see there's some mobs back here, but I'm never going to be here. But yeah, that is a very large kelp farm, and the reason for that is I was trying to get a consistent amount. Unfortunately, some of my super smelter comes across here, that's why I had to cut this over a little bit, and then up here I could have maybe done 1 more or 2 more layers, but it wouldn't have made a whole lot of difference. On the typical 3 random tick speed for the game, it is consistent, but it just isn't quick enough for the 15 smokers that I'm going to be using. Now the reason I'm using 15 smokers is because that will provide enough fuel to fuel my furnace while it's in use, so that will actually allow me to do 64 furnaces and have a constant fuel supply, meaning that anything I put in is going to get fueled. I'm not going to be sitting there waiting for the fuel to come through. But if I actually set it to like 5 or 6 on the random tick speed, it will actually be super consistent and actually a little bit too fast. Like for example, this built up while I was just sitting here not doing anything, and if I turn it off now, you'll see all of these now retract and start activating, and you should see any second when it starts going. Once it actually starts going, you'll see it will be consistent. And yeah, now the farm is fully going, you can see it's just constantly going up, and this is on a random tick speed of 6. So while that does that, I might as well start on the next part of this, which is going to be the actual smokers, and I think we'll start building from here, and then we'll connect the rail afterwards, because that's going to go across the top of them. I am loving these resin blocks for using as temporary blocks, because they're just so easy to break no matter what I've got in my hand. So I'm doing something a little bit strange for the fueling of these smokers. Now I mentioned previously that I have the lava spread set, so basically kind of like how water spreads, the lava will spread in my game as well, which I tried it out just for a bit of fun, and I found it to be 2 things. One, it's very difficult when you're going for the netherite, because the tunnels will just start filling up with lava, so that's a bit awkward. But also, it's really cool for stuff like obviously doing Mustafar. You can see I put a lot of lava out here. This was a lot easier with the lava spread on, and also I can fuel this with lava buckets. So this is actually a sorting system here that's going to sort out the empty buckets and send those back through. Now it's not perfect because the buckets do sometimes get burned when you're picking up the lava. Minecart hoppers do help to reduce that, but still it's a little bit of an issue. But it does mean that I have an infinite fuel source, and I was trying out different farms to like bamboo and stuff to fuel this, and just nothing was quick enough. Honestly, for the kelp that I'm getting, nothing was quick enough, and it was really just affecting the whole thing. I didn't really want to use the lava, but I think it actually is quite cool, and it's just not something you would usually find in Minecraft, and it is a setting in the game, so I thought, you know, it's quite a fun thing to do. Then I have 5 crafters with 3 of the smokers going into each one. That just spreads out the load to make sure that they can craft them quick enough, although I don't think it would be an issue. It's more about hopper speeds here. I've said it 20 times already, and I'll say it until I run out of breath. I want a smooth stone stairs. I just want a smooth stone stairs to match. It's so annoying. Why can't they just give us that? I mean, is it really like not Minecrafty? Is there really a problem with it? Right, judging by the sound I hear coming from here, I assume this is all filled up. Yeah, so I think now we'll switch that off because we don't need that lag in my game. Now, just to make sure we don't run out of buckets too early, we are going to have this little system around the back, which essentially will just check if the system needs buckets or not. So we're checking for the first one. It will stop when there's 4 buckets in there, and then this will all be filled as well. And once that happens, then we know to when that empties, we need to start activating this system, which will just give me more buckets. Now to put these minecart hoppers inside a block, we just push those in. Now I'm just going to place a few extra blocks behind to make sure that nothing can push those around. Should have placed in these observers before, it would have been much easier. And then finally I have this double chest at the top to give me a backup of buckets, because like I say, some do get burned, so I will need to fill this up. This is the only thing I'm going to have to do for this farm. Well, that is the bucket dispensing system finished. Now I need to craft a bunch of buckets, which is going to be annoying. Alright, let's switch this on so that we can see that actually working. So you can see it's taking it, and they're picking them up pretty quick, so I think we're probably not going to lose many buckets. But you should see if I come down here, Yeah, these are starting to fill up now. You can see it comes in at a decent pace, which is more than enough, but for the initial fill up it is a little bit slow. Also, the reason I use the comparator here is because you can see that as the buckets are going in, it doesn't give a strong enough signal to actually affect this at all. It'll only be once this starts filling up. And any second now you'll see that this one will turn on and now it's not going off. Second bucket, third bucket, then this will activate one more time and you end up with 4 in here. And now I have a full double chest of buckets plus all of the ones in these hoppers and everything as well. So that is perfect. That is all working. Time to connect the kelp up to this and we'll start getting some fuel in. So I guess you might be asking, if I did all of that just to get some kelp smelted, why wouldn't I just do it for the actual smelter in the first place? Firstly, that's because I didn't think of it first. I was trying to avoid using the lava, but it was just much better to do it this way, so I decided to go with it. Yeah, and the problem is you have to sort the buckets out, and the way that I designed this super smelter, it would have been a lot of effort to then add that in after, and I spent a lot of time actually trying to work out how to get the 64 items to be spread out quick enough for it to work properly, so I really didn't want to change that. And yeah, I just quite like doing it this way. It's easier, there's no risk of buckets getting stuck in my shulker boxes, which stops the items from coming back out. So yeah, this worked out better for me anyway. Well, that is it. The dried kelp block maker is ready to go, so I think now we'll just whack a hopper minecart down here and we'll get that started. If I just break this, everything should activate, we should be all good. And why did that go so quickly? I think I'm supposed to have a torch here. Yep, I've made a mistake already. Right, there we go, now it's going properly, and any second we should start to see dried kelp blocks coming into here. There we go, already 9, see, look how quick that is. Oh, I didn't put the top on as well. Brilliant. Now that that's finished, it's time for the really hard part, which I'm not looking forward to, which is actually building the smelter. Now I think the safest starting point for this is going to be with the shulker unloader, because it's all underneath, so best to get that in first. So I just have this water stream pushing the filled shulker boxes over to an item elevator, which will take them up into the room where I'll be collecting my items. So this little observer setup gives us a double hopper speed tick, so we can use droppers to put in 2 times the amount of items, and we can make them be quiet by putting blocks on top like that. So this shulker loader is not actually my design. I'll see if I can link it in the description, if I can even find the video again. Same with the shulker unloader. So I used 2 of those and I just connected them to either end of a super smelter. And then of course I have a book here, turned to page 15 on a lectern in order to make sure that this has to be full before it will actually dispense or break the shulker box. And now you can see exactly why my farm was limited to where it was. This is literally the peak of where I can go to. I didn't think about this. This is going to be quite tricky. How do I get this piston in here? I'm just going to have to put a block here. That should do the job. And now I can fill up the empty shulker boxes that I had outside. So the reason why I've filled these up so much is because basically sometimes with the shulker unloader it's possible to lose a shulker box. However, I don't know exactly how that will happen because it hasn't happened to me yet. And I just need essentially a way to read this hopper, just so I know, like, okay, there's not enough shulker boxes. Obviously one's got stuck in the system somewhere, so I can go and fix that. At this point I have some really weird redstone going on down here. That's because, to be honest, I don't know what else to do with this. I had to use 2 minecart hoppers, as you'll see here, and it gets really weird. So we have all of this split up into 4 lines of hoppers, and that way we can actually separate them out into 2 droppers at double speed, which allows us to have 4 times speed of the shulker loading. And then we just have one great big 64 block long line of furnaces. We have 2 lines of hoppers for the fuel, just to separate it out from the main line, because sometimes when the minecarts are turning they go slightly over a block, which actually then picks up the item that we want to smelt and puts it in the fuel source area, which is not ideal. I imagine by this point I probably have quite a few kelp blocks built up in here. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, we got quite a good supply going. I think I just found a solution to my bat problem. Just cover everything in lava. I have this weird little double rail set up at the end because it goes down and comes back, and it was just easier to loop this one back round so that it can go down the same track. And that is it. The fueling system is now all set up, so this track should all be working, and it should send the minecart round, collect all of the items down the bottom, and then bring them up to the top. I've also set this up, so technically now I can leave this AFK to start building some up. I do need to quickly just chuck a minecart down here. Also, I found that kelp were getting stuck here. It seems that the 4 tick speed is actually the best, so it's only 1 more than the standard. yeah, it all seems to be staying stocked up, so I don't really have any issues there. So 3 is just slightly too slow, and 4 is perfect. And there we go. Minecart in. Any second now, it should leave. I do have that on retract mode. Okay, there we go. That's it. Now I can leave this AFK. It's going to take 20 hours to fill up all of the fuel. It's going to take 20 hours. That's how many there is. It's ridiculous. But technically, all I need to do now is the shulker unloader here to put the items into this little hopper minecart system here, which got a little bit complicated, I'll be honest, because you can see, I mentioned earlier, there's 2 hopper minecarts here. That's because one isn't actually quick enough. By the time it's filled up and brought back the next 64 items, there'll be a gap, so I needed 2 in order to keep the fuel actually getting used, otherwise we're wasting some of the fuel. And in order to do that, there was all this weird redstone I had to do around here. So I've been AFK for about 5.5 hours now, and you can see I've got 64 in here. And then if we come around this little bit here, I put something just for me to climb down, and we've got 20 in each of these as well, so that's 84 in each, which is pretty nice. It will be enough for me to actually do some smelting. But for now, let's start working on getting these items into the smelter. Otherwise, we're not going to have anything to smelt. I did fix this little observer setup as well. I had 2 facing into each other. Technically, this one should have been to the side. So that's actually fixed now. Now I have another weird little minecart rail set up because I need to... How do I get this to go back? Okay, cool. Basically, this will check if there's items in the minecart. If there is, then it will sort of activate the system to make both of them go again until both of them go past with nothing in. Damn, there's so many weird little bits of redstone in here that I'm just worried I'm going to miss something. What the heck? That lightning just blew up here, but it sounded like it actually broke something. And that is all of the... Whoa, I've fallen down, that was a mistake. But that is all the rails set up. So we've got all the rails going along here, and what on earth is going on? Yeah, it's a bit messy, but yeah, we've got all the rails down here, everything's powered, so we've got all that coming back, and then this will be the indicator to tell me if I'm running out of shulker boxes. So I think we need some redstone on top of here. And there we go, the light is off, indicating that we have enough in there already. Now I would really love to explain to you guys how this part works, but I'm gonna be completely honest, I have no flipping idea. I built it like a week ago, I know it works, but I can't remember exactly what it's doing. But I can give you a brief overview. Essentially, this one will go off and then come back out quickly, and it pushes the minecart onto this track, so it separates them out. Then we have this one that's waiting here, which will get let out into here. Now it does wait a bit extra because if they're too close together, then they'll get stacked up and it'll affect it. So essentially, when one is down the other end, another one will get let out, so they're kind of like halfway between each other. But we have like multiple things going into this piston here because there's different ways that I want to actually activate it. One of them is this, so there's a reason why. I think after this turns off, it will send them one extra time to make sure that all the items have been dropped off. There's also a line that comes down here which will also activate that piston, allowing it to travel off, and that one gets activated if the minecart is detected as having items in it. And eventually, when the items are completely emptied out, there'll be no signal coming from this chest, which means that there's no items left to collect, but there may still be items in the hoppers. That's when all the stuff I showed you just activates, and yeah, that will essentially just make sure the system keeps going until the items are completely empty, at which point this will be off and the detector rail over there won't pick up any items in the minecart, and then it will allow them to come both nicely to a stop and keep them separate because we don't want them stacking up on each other either. Then we have this hopper line here going down. That will collect the empty shulker from the shulker unloader, and it will send that all the way down over into the shulker loader. So we should have a continuous loop, but like I said, sometimes you might get an issue where one of them gets stuck somewhere and doesn't actually go through, and then at least I can know if that one's despawned or got stuck in the system. I have run into a bit of an issue. This is going into one of my other designs. Frustrating. Basically, because this is here instead of on these two blocks, it means that the signal strength... Actually, no. Because of the way that I have it, technically, it goes this way and then comes back here. So this redstone is the first one being powered, so this is the second. And here it's the first and here it's the second. Oh, actually, yeah, that works out perfectly. That should be completely fine. I hope. I really hope that's fine. And now I have the barrels in place. We're going to put our shulker boxes in here when we want to smelt something, and then we can take them out of here. They'll come back up to here. We have this little lamp here to indicate when I need to add shulker boxes, and for that I can just basically press Q, drop them onto this stairs, and then they'll go down into the system. I'm not going to show you because then I'll have to get that item out of the system, whatever it is. And my night viz is running out again. Please, enough. That was rapid. And there we go. Now we just need to fill in this hole, and I believe that is everything done for the return system. So now we just need to finish up the shulker unloader and it will be ready to use. Now this is quite a small shulker unloader, so it's not going to be difficult to build, but it is a little bit fiddly. And again, I didn't design this one, so I'll try and post a link to the one that I got if you want to understand a bit more how this works. That was way harder to build than I made it out to be. That was ridiculous. But it's done now. And let me just check. Nothing got pushed around. We should be all good. Ready to test that out. Everything else should be built. I just ended up with one hopper that went down into this system, so I can go grab that. But that is everything finished up now. All I need to do is put in my last 2 hopper minecarts, and it's ready to use. So we put one in here. Nothing went in, and we put one in here. And that's it, done. I am just going to go through and check the schematic and just make sure that everything is done, but that should be my super smelter ready to go. See, this is why I check, because this one block is missing, but that one block could have broke everything. There's also a block missing here, but I don't think it's necessary. That's already blocked off, that's fine. But yeah, this one little mistake could have cost me hours of work, so I'm glad, I'm glad it wasn't an important one, but at the same time, that's why I continuously check these projects after I'm done. Well, I have made a copy of the world because I just want to make sure it works before I actually use it and have to collect all the items back out of it. So here we go. I have a shulker box on me of stone. So let's whack it in here. And let's see. That should have popped out now. Let me just turn on the full bright so you guys can see. So yeah, you can see the shulker boxes in there. And now that will go. And then after a short period of time, that will be now filling up while this one goes down. And then now that goes as well, and you'll see this one's on its way back, and now they should loop quite nicely around, emptying out all of the items. So that looks like it's working great. We'll be back in 5 minutes to see if it actually finishes properly. It looks like this one isn't working. Oh, I think I just pushed it, but that's fine. You saw that popped out because the shulker box actually finished and popped. So now if we go down here, any second now, there's the second one. So that shulker has been returned to the system. Once this finishes, it will break it and it will dispense another one. And now we should be seeing any second now. This should probably take the rest. Maybe it'll be left. No, that's it. Finished. So this has gone off. And now that goes off and this will slowly turn off. However, as this minecart comes back around, this one should still have stone in it. So it should then trigger that. There we go. And then that deactivates this. So now they are a little bit closer together, but they should be empty. And that one now locks, and this goes into place, and it's finished. That all worked perfectly. Now we should see our shulker box pop any second. Right, I don't know if that worked. Let me go and check and see if it did come through. No, nothing's come through, so something's gone wrong here. Right, they're both empty. It was a full shulker box. So where has this last stone gone? Oh, it's full. It's full, but it didn't break the shulker box. I believe I missed a redstone somewhere. Oh, is it because I did page 15? I think I was supposed to do page 14. If that's the case, that's fine. We can easily fix that. We can just check on this one. Yes, I had it on page 15. It's supposed to be on 14. So that works perfectly. And there we go, done. I am now confident enough. I'm going to do it in my actual world. And we're going to just whack in the shulker box, and then we will actually be back in 5 minutes to see if it's done. And there we go, one full shulker box of smooth stone, nicely packaged for us, and it took about 5 minutes and 18 seconds if you really want to be picky about it. But either way, it's pretty much 12 shulker boxes an hour. It's like 20,000 items an hour. I'm really happy with it. The only thing I'm not sure if I can do is put different types in at the same time. But at those speeds, realistically, waiting for one shulker box is not even something I need to do AFK. So I'm going to take 26 more of these stone shulkers, and we're just going to smelt up a bunch of smooth stone, because I keep using it everywhere, and I keep having to smelt more. So I might as well, since I have so much stone and cobblestone, just get some of this made up. But now that's finished, I'm going to be AFK. But for you guys, let's jump straight back into finishing off this Death Star. And there it is, the Death Star 2 in all its menacing glory. And we've also gone through and actually mob-proofed the whole thing. So we'll just quickly fly up here. It's so far away, it's taken me ages. But you'll see that all along this there is glow lichen. And that seemed to be the best way to do it, because it didn't make it too bright. It kept that kind of dark, eerie atmosphere when it's nighttime. And it just allowed me to essentially mob-proof the whole thing. As well as the inside, there was a few extra bits to mob-proof, like up here. And now this should be completely free from any mobs, which is great, because if you see below this, there is something down here, which is a guardian monument, an ocean monument, which we are going to be turning into a guardian farm. And I don't know if that will be in the range, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, pretty much when I'm over in these islands, it's never going to be a problem with the mobs. But I think that what we'll do is we'll try and make the radio dish here that points up towards the Death Star on Endor, and that will be the AFK spot. If I can make that fully mob proof as well, that will be excellent. So just to go back to the earlier project from this episode, I did run into a couple of issues, and I ended up wasting quite a lot of my stone. I put 26 shulker boxes of stone into smelt, and I got 2 out, because basically what happened was, if I just fly through here, and I'll tell you what, we'll turn this off, and we'll put on the full bright so I can show you that. Where the loader is here, essentially the next smooth stone was coming through too quick, getting popped out, and then it was going down into this hopper here, which was getting a comparator signal out, locking all of this out, and this was locked out, so it wouldn't actually dispense another shulker box, which was very unfortunate. The fix for this was quite simple, but then it turned out to be quite complicated, because this ended up double pulsing, breaking my shulker before it was fully emptied. But essentially it just has a comparator that checks when a full shulker box comes through here, and then it will attempt to dispense. If I can see it, there's a dropper down here, which is essentially where our little barrel will go down into the dropper, and then if there's any more in there, then when the shulker box comes through here, it will just dispense that into this hopper, which goes into the dispenser, and then it will start the next shulker box. This actually has the added benefit of me being able to smelt different items all in one go. So if I need a shulker box of glass, a shulker box of smooth stone, and whatever else, then we can just put them all in and it will do the job. The only change I really had to make was here. I now have a button, because when you put the first one in, you need to press the button to activate the system. It's not the end of the world, it's just not quite as smooth. And you'll also see these barrels are now actually sticking out a little bit more than they was before, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but it is working fantastically because after I wasted that stone, I took 25 shulker boxes of cobble from my cobble farm, I turned them into stone, and then I turned them into smooth stone. So that was 2 loads of 25 shulker boxes. So now I have 27 shulker boxes of smooth stone, which is fantastic. And now I have basically an unlimited supply because I don't need to worry about it. It takes 5 minutes for a shulker box, and I'm just so happy that's done. I have also kind of realized one thing about this Death Star I didn't consider. Last episode we went through and we did all of the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight scenes here. Now this is actually where the Luke Vader fight scenes happen. The real problem is I don't think it's big enough inside for me to do the scenes proper justice, so I am going to leave it for this. We'll work on something in the future at a later date. We'll come up with an area. Maybe I'll just build it into, you know, now that I think about it, we could just put a teleport pad, one of those teleport pads, and just make a massive hole in the floor and just build everything below the sea level, which could work out, but it's going to be a lot of digging, so we won't do that for now. But that is all for today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope you like the Death Star, and if you like it and you want to build it for yourself, I will be putting a schematic in the Discord, which can be found in my About page. But thank you very much for watching. May the Force be with you always.